Would you like to know how to self-publish a book for free? Are you strapped for cash and not really know where to turn when it comes to self-publishing your own book? I know this seems contradictory to everything that I've shared previously, and that you got to invest, but there's been some times where some people have felt so discouraged that they didn't share their message with the world, and I think that, man, I don't want to discourage people. I want to continue to encourage you, so there's going to be some methodologies I'm going to share with you, especially if you're especially frugal in today's little podcast episode, so make sure that you stay tuned. This is Self-Publishing with Dale, where you'll learn to publish books that sell and build an unstoppable author brand. And if you're new here and you want to learn more about self-publishing your books, make sure that you subscribe. Turn your bell notifications on so that way you don't miss a single video. Today's podcast is brought to you in part by Findaway Voices, the audiobook distribution platform. They reach well over 30 different audiobook retailers, distribution channels, and so on and so forth. I'm so excited about Findaway Voices. It almost takes the words right out of my mouth, because for those of you, and I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, that are on a tight budget, then you need to consider Findaway Voices' newest feature in the Voices Share program. See, you can produce your audiobook for half the price in exchange for sharing 20% of your royalties with that narrator. Think about other programs where they say 50% and you're stuck in a deal for 7 years. Way different. So when starting a new project, you'll see the Voices Share option in application form. You can review narrators. You can see cost estimates and get auditions for your project at no extra cost. All you got to do, sign up today at findawayvoices.com/Dale. Again, get your account set up. It doesn't cost anything. Findawayvoices.com/Dale. You will thank me later for it. So here we are, 2019. About 5 years ago, if you would have told me that I could be publishing my own books without having to spend money, I would have said, you're crazy. You're nuts. But that's the world that we live in. However, listen, folks, I'm going to share some advice sometimes on my channel, and I don't want to discourage you. So today is going to be kind of in stark contrast to what I usually say. I say, hey, invest in yourself, invest in everything. But every now and then, you may not have the resources. It's kind of an issue that maybe you're forever broke. You can't seem to afford the time to even get any money. So that's okay. So we're going to kind of get you set up here in today's podcast. It's going to be a balance, though, folks. I want you to find a balance between frugality versus quality. Okay? There's one thing to be cheap, and I'm not saying cheap as a bad thing. In fact, my good boy Keith Wheeler Books is one of those ones, you call him cheap, he'll blush. He actually finds it flattering, and it's a good thing. It's okay to be cheap, but don't be so much so that it's at the expense of quality. So as I give you some of this advice about publishing free books, doing it for free, I'm not telling you you should sacrifice quality. And one of the best ways to know if you've got a good quality publication is if you have a good peer network. In other words, people that you are associating with. So make sure that you're building a network of other indie authors, not just your friends and family that don't count. I'm talking about other authors in your community and reaching out to them, because they're going to tell you whether you got a stud or you got a dud, whether your cover is good or it's garbage. And that's where it's just, no, there needs to be a balance between frugality versus the quality. And then we've got time versus money, folks. And in this instance, chances are likely, if you're looking for some type of a solution to the fact that you don't have money to spend on publishing your books, it's probably a time versus money. You probably have more time than you do have money. And if that's the case, you're going to need a little bit of grit. You're going to need to be a bit flexible, and you're going to have to probably learn a lot, apply a lot, make tons of mistakes along the way, correct course, and continue moving forward. So those of you that are currently publishing books for free and you're not, say investing in a cover designer, you're not investing in an editor, you're not investing in good formatting, chances are pretty likely you're going to run into some issues. Don't be surprised if you're not getting book sales. It's because you haven't invested in those things, and that's okay. You just need to be flexible and understand it's going to take a bit more time because you've got more of that than you do of the money. All right, so I had to get that. Got to get off my soapbox here. I want to talk to you about some of the top ways to self-publish for free. And it's dead simple, believe it or not. And some of them you're going to be like, well, of course, this makes sense. So, if I happen to share something and you're like, Dale, come on, man, I know this stuff, but, it bears merit, and of course, sharing with you. Make sure you stick around. I actually got an extra little bonus tip of sorts, but we'll get to that a little bit later. All right, so we're going to start it out with writing for free. Okay, I get this a lot. A lot of people are like, okay, what should I be writing on? Should I use Microsoft Word? Should I use Kingsoft Office? Should I use Scrivener? Should I use this? The easiest and most dead simple tool to use is Google Docs. 100% free. All you need to have is a Gmail account. Gmail account just takes you about 2 minutes to go ahead and set up, and you got yourself a Google Drive, and you got Google Docs, and you got Google Sheets, and all those type of things. And Google Docs is really nice in the aspect that if for some reason your computer dies on you, it's backed up in the cloud. All you got to do is just go and access it. So Google Docs is dead simple, so easy to utilize. And if you go watch, say, one of my tutorials, and I'm showing you something on Microsoft Word, chances are likely that feature is still available over in Google Docs. You're just going to have to sift through and figure out where it's at. Again, it's that time versus money thing. So you're going to need a little bit more time to kind of figure your way around. I'm going to say this, that my ever-faithful assistant, I've been working with her for the past few years, Ava Fales. By the way, you can reach out to her, heyoava.com, if you're ever interested in hiring her services. But Ava loves Google Docs. Like, she swears by it. She actually loves using Google Docs. That is her jam. And so when she's been using that for so long, she doesn't have to either, then you know that this is going to be a good resource for you writing in. So the next thing I'm going to share. Now, there's going to be some people that go, I'm not a good writer. I'm not a good writer, Dale. I need to hire ghostwriters. Well, if you can't afford it, then chances are likely you're going to have to become the writer yourself. Now, this is where some of the old school authors out there, they're going to flip their wig. They're going to freak out when I share the next tip is voice dictation. There's a difference between voice dictation and writing. Oh, calm down. Calm down. I will tell you right now that with good editing, good proofreading, and working all that stuff around, you can take a good voice-dictated manuscript and make it beautiful. That's the thing. You got to believe in something like this. So hopefully, if you don't have the discretionary expense to hire a ghostwriter that you can utilize and publish their stuff, then voice dictation is the way to go. The simplest way to do it is know what you're going to write, know your audience, outline it, and then talk it out. Now, voice dictation, you can get anything like in Google Docs, there actually is a voice dictation feature. You can actually talk into your phone and do it that way. Your phone's another way to utilize it. There's so many voice dictation software out there. Now, sometimes it's a little off and it can kind of be stilted at first when you're working with it because you got to go, say, for instance, you'll say a line like sign up today at findawayvoices.com/Dale, period. Next line. You got to kind of speak those things out, but after you do it after a while, you'll start to notice it. You'll get a pattern. I highly recommend that you learn the vernacular as you're going through voice dictation, because when you go through editing it later, and if it's a big gigantic run-on sentence with no punctuation, you're going to be like, oh, voice dictation's terrible. Learn to talk out the punctuation. It's so worth it. Just Google up a YouTube video and you'll see. There's just simple things like saying the punctuation, the next line, anytime you need to abbreviate or something like that. So there's various different commands you can use for voice dictation. All right, so now let's go on to the next one. This is going to be editing and proofreading. All right, this is where some of the editors are going to probably lose their friggin' minds. They're going to be like, you need to hire an editor. Listen, I'm trying to give some people some solutions. And telling them that they have to pay $10,000 in order to fulfill just a hobby project or just to try to get themselves out there in the world is very discouraging, man. And I'm not going to sit here and try to tell them to pay $10,000 if they really want to get that work out as soon as humanly possible. Not to say, though, folks, that you can hire an editor later. So with editing and proofreading, start out first and foremost. Okay, editing doesn't just include you doing line editing, you going back through and making sure everything looks good and looking for any typos. This means first thing first, do your first draft, get it done with, and then use any kind of grammar or spelling checker. Google Docs has one, Microsoft Word has one. There's so many other, like any pretty much document creating software out there has some type of grammar and spelling checker. I'm really happy with Microsoft Words. It's really nice. Google Docs, pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. I actually tested it out before we even got here on this podcast. Next one's going to be I've heard of Hemingway. That actually was an old friend of mine, Jason Brock, had recommended that some time ago. They have an upgraded model to where you can just download it and use it anywhere. But for this instance, you can just do it right online. And then there's Grammarly. And you've heard me swear by Grammarly. The free version is more than adequate. Now, it does have the limitation as far as how many pages you can do that. So just do a chapter at a time. Upload it, go ahead and get it all fixed and go through. You're not going to find every last detail, but it's going to get you at least started. And by the way, if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm going to actually have links to some of the services down inside the description. Otherwise, you can go over to selfpublishingwithdale.com/Grammarly to get yourself set up with a free account. Okay. And then last but not least, I've said this already, peer support. Find yourself 5 to 6 very reliable and unbiased peers. Now, when I say unbiased, that means you'll hand it to them and they will butcher your work. They will tear it up. They'll get that red pen all over it. Some people are afraid to get that criticism. I would rather get that from people I kind of know to do know, rather than from people I don't know and are killing me with 1-star reviews. So get about 5 to 6 good, reliable people that can help you through this process in editing and proofreading. If you are, again, I'm going to have to big shout out back to Keith Wheeler. If you're like Keith goes and he finds the person that has the service providing, and what he'll do is a nice little quid pro quo, or he'll even just, exchange some type of service for one for the other, and he works out some type of a deal with an editor of some sort. So if you're really good, you can probably go ahead and get yourself an editor that way. All right, next one, formatting. All right, I talked about this not too long ago when it comes to getting good formatting software. I already said these two previously. Drafted Digital has stellar, if I didn't say it enough, stellar interior formatting on their website that's 100% free. You do not have to publish through their platform to utilize it. You can get a good ebook interior as well as the print interior. And here's the beauty of it. They'll give it to you in 3 different ways for your ebook. They'll give it to you for EPUB, they'll get it to you for Mobi, which is Kindle version, and they'll get it to you for PDF. And then the print version for PDF as well. That's insane. Okay, that's crazy. Drafted Digital is that much in favor of the indie author. And you can go through my referral link of, selfpublishingwithdale.com/D2D, or even just look inside the description down below for this podcast to get more details. The other one is Kindle Creates. This is kind of nice. It works in coordination with Amazon KDP platform, and you can get it all formatted. Now, I had a lot of questions on Kindle Creates. A lot of people will post them over on my videos or send me emails. I have not used Kindle Creates. I opened it up once. I kind of played around with it. I said, okay, this is not for me. It's just, I already have a system down, so I'm probably not going to use Kindle Creates, but it's 100% free, folks. You can't beat that with a stick. And that's really just one of the best ways to go. All right, now next thing. We're just blazing right along. Audiobook narration for free. Now, I'm going to kind of put free in quotations. Free. Okay? Audiobook narration. If you go through Audiobook Creation Exchange to reach the Audible, Amazon, and Apple markets for your audiobook, there is the 50-50 royalty split on ACX. Now, I'm not a big fan of it because I got real bullish on ACX early on about 4 years ago, and I went all in on it. Sadly, the 50-50 royalty splits are nice. You don't have to pony up the expenses up front. The narrator takes all of the assumed risk. They have to go through, they have to produce all this. It's painstaking. They've got to read through everything. And what they're doing is they're going to get 50% of your profits for the next 7 years for that specific publication. Okay? That doesn't mean 50-50 of all your business, just that one agreement that you have with them. And it can work out really nicely. If you don't have the money, that's probably one of the best ways to bootstrap your way to getting the money and then using that to reinvest back into your audiobook business. So 50-50 royalty split, again, is, I'm putting it in quotations, it's free. Technically not, because you're having to kind of part ways with 50% of your earnings. To me, it's worth it if you don't have the money. Just at least get things going, grease the wheels. So that way you have some cash that you can put back into your business, rather than going, well, let me wait till I've got, I don't know, a few grand on this fiction publication, and 5 years from now you finally have the money, but nobody cares to listen to your fiction audiobook. Get it done. Just get it off your plate, get it going. Alrighty, we're burning right through things. Now, of course, this one is going to be a given. Publishing for free. Go to the platform with the widest reach, and of course, that is Amazon. Amazon's KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, and ACX, which is Audiobook Creation Exchange. This is going to be the platform you're going to reach the widest amount of people in one spot, okay? So it's free to use each one of those platforms. It's free. You don't need to have your own ISBN. They actually can provide it for you. Now, keep in mind, they own the imprint, but that doesn't mean they own the rights to your publication. So don't freak out and be like, but Dale, they own the imprint, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, listen, there are numerous people that are crushing this business right now that don't own their own ISBN. And I'm going to tell you that this household here, the Roberts household, both Kelly and myself, have gotten by on using the free assigned ISBNs. And I'll tell you, if you want to go for the ISBNs, that's fine. But if you are dead broke and you can't afford to publish, do it this way. In the event that you get to that point to where you can afford your own ISBNs and you have your own imprint and you have your own company, then you can go ahead and consider investing in your own ISBNs. But for right now, it's okay to use the free assigned ISBNs. So I've got one last big bonus tip for y'all before we finish things up here for this podcast. And I just want to remind you here as you're listening to this, every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Daytime, that's Universal Time Coordinated -4, starting on September 21st, we're going to be having live broadcasts on youtube.com/selfpublishingwithdale. And you can go to my quick link of dalelinks.com/live. I'll have that inside the show notes as well. I also want to bring to your attention that starting on Monday, September 16th, every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Daytime, I'll be having the podcast recording on twitch.tv/self-publish. So as you're listening to this, I'm actually broadcasting out to Twitch right now as we speak. You're going to get to see behind the scenes as I'm setting things up, as I'm getting geared up and such, and using a different microphone than I normally do for my live videos and using for my pre-tapes and such. So it's a little bit more clean. We have a little bit more fun. And after we're done with each one of the podcasts, I actually have a live Q&A. We're able to kind of jib-jab. So join me every Monday starting September 16th at 12 p.m. Eastern Daytime. That's twitch.tv/self-publish. And by the way, you can follow me there on Twitch, self-publish, or you can subscribe for free with Amazon Prime. If you want more details about how to navigate and use Twitch, just head on over. I actually have another channel called Live Streaming Tech where we actually showed you how to set up a Twitch account. What are bits? How do you subscribe? How do you follow people? What's the big deal? Go to dalelinks.com/twitch101. All right, so now as we wrap up on the very last point, we've already got everything published. We wrote the content. All right, we got it edited and proofed. We got the formatting. I skipped over making a book cover design, but I can give you just a quick reference right off the top of my head. Check out Derek Murphy's DIY book covers. He's got an entire free course. He shows you how to do it with Microsoft Word of all things. Great course, 100% free, by the way. Should have added that, by the way. Big shout out to Derek. That's an awesome, awesome, awesome course. I've already told him before. But at any rate, now we've got marketing for free. Yeah. This is one of the best ways to market, is when you don't have to spend a ton of freaking money. And I'm just going to give you a few of them here. Free promotional websites. There are a ton of promotional websites, and how they make their money is typically they will use an affiliate link of some sort, like Amazon Associates, to promote your book. So if somebody comes to their website, they click on that and they go buy your book, they get a small percentage. It doesn't affect the cost. It Doesn't take anything away from your bottom line. It's definitely a way to go. A great resource, go to Tom Corson Knoll's website. It's tckpublishing.com and just search up free promotional sites. And he actually has an updated list that he had posted, I think, last year, if not this year. And you can go through that. And there's different ones you can do for like free promos, some for 99-cent promos, and some just regular promotional websites. Next one is my favorite one, YouTube channel or video in general, video marketing, because you can do video on Facebook, you can do it on Instagram, you can do it on LinkedIn. There's so many ways you can make it, shake it, or bake it. If you've got a cell phone, an iPhone, an Android, you've got a desktop, laptop with a camera on it, then you have the means to do video. I'm going to tell you that some of you might watch my stuff over on YouTube and you're like, oh, wow, this is pretty fancy. It's pretty, like, don't look at my stuff. Stop looking at my stuff. All right. And I'm going to say this. Look at Kelly's channel. Kelly, my wife, has her own channel. You know what she does? She just turns on her Mac and just starts shooting. There's no fancy microphones. She doesn't have like a ton of big lights or anything else like that. She just keeps it simple. So you as an author, keep it simple. All right? Don't overwork yourself. Just start. That's the most important thing. And last but not least, social media aggregates. Now, one of the easiest ways to kind of promote your stuff is social media, of course. Why try to spend all of your time trying to plan out every post and then just painstakingly post each one of them? You can schedule them. Now, there's one of them, and I could be wrong on this. Hootsuite's the name of one of them. I used a long time ago. They're 100% free to use. They have like a premium model, but you can schedule out posts, I think, for like 30 days at a time, maybe 90 days. But either way, that's a free way to do things. And then just let me throw in the last little nugget here, and I was just talking about this before I even jumped onto the recording this podcast, is your local library. 100% free. One of the easiest ways to get on in there. And that definitely kind of gets me to where I can segue into the sponsors of today's podcast and Findaway Voices. They actually have distribution to Hoopla and quite a few other library distribution channels. And part of that Hoopla is, this is cool, you as a library patron, you just set up your library card through Hoopla and it checks out so many titles for you. And you can get audiobooks, you can get ebooks, you can even get movies if you want to through Hoopla. And by the way, this is not an ad for Hoopla. This is all this to say this, that Findaway Voices is one of the ways. And of course, I just announced this past week, Drafted Digital just came to an agreement with Hoopla as well. So there is a way that you can get yourself into libraries. And here's the cool thing. Just show up to the library, talk to the staff. Believe it or not, they won't bite. I promise you, they won't bite. Get to know them, find out how you can contribute to the community. And if you've got a few extra minutes, because again, it's time versus money. You probably have more time than you have money. Go into the library, give back just a little bit. And you'd be surprised if you just say, hey, I'm an indie author. I'm just kind of looking to kind of get out there and meet some new people. What can I do to give back to the community? You'd be surprised. People are like, oh. And then when you're in like a casual conversation, someone will be like, so I hear you write some books. Yeah, actually, do you get the Hoopla app? And some people will be like, no, yeah, just go over inside the Apple store and just download Hoopla. It's completely free. You set your library card with it, and it checks out those titles for you. I'm in audiobook, and everybody's going to be like, yay! And they're going to be, excited for you and celebrating you. And guess what? It didn't cost you a dime, except just a little bit of time. As we start to wrap things up here today, folks, I just wanted to say that it would be awesome if you subscribe to me in the podcast here, Self-Publishing with Dale, on Apple Podcasts, and do me a huge favor, leave me a review. That'd be awesome. I've got 7 reviews so far. Would love to see a few more. That'd be very great of you. And of course, you can follow me on other podcast platforms, including SoundCloud, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and beyond. In fact, big shout out to my brother Walt. He listens to me on iHeartRadio. So, by the way, if you do listen to me somewhere, just drop me an email, dale@selfpublishingwithdale.com. Tell me where you're listening from. I always love hearing from you. In the meantime, and in between time, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale, and I appreciate everybody tuning in. And if you've made it this far, maybe you should just go ahead and take a look at this next video. I'm going to share with you 5 free book promotion strategies you probably never heard of. It's an older video, but it still holds up. In the meantime, hey, what are you doing waiting for? I mean, come on,